I want to start out by saying congratulations on your ASC award nomination.
Thank you,
It's
Sarah.
really
Thanks.
exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you shot two episodes of The Old Man, one of which is nominated, and
Mhm.
yeah, I'd just love to start out by talking about how you got involved with this show that ended up allowing you to do this work.
Sure. Well, I got involved with the show through the two showrunners, Dan Schatz and John Steinberg, who I'd worked with on a few other projects. So I started working with them back in 2013 when we did Black Sails together. I did the first two seasons of Black Sails. And then subsequently, we worked on C in Vancouver, a Jason Momoa kind of sci-fi TV show. And then I've just actually finished shooting Percy Jackson with them in Vancouver as well, season one on Percy Jackson, and of course the Old Man. So we've had a long history together.
Um,
So that's how I came to the project.
Yeah, I mean, that's always great when collaborations can last for, a decade. And that always, you come into the project with a little bit more of a shorthand, which is always really nice.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's like working in film and TV. I mean, it's a fantastic kind of vocation, but at times it's challenging, and well, it's always challenging, really, and it can be very stressful. And it's great to be working with people that trust you and that you trust, and you do have that shorthand, as you say. So it's great. It becomes a family, really. So it's always great to get the family back together, or the band back together, so to speak. And we're about to do that again with season two on The Old Man. So that kicks off for me in about 2 weeks' time.
Oh,
So
it's coming up soon.
coming up soon. Yeah,
Yeah,
really looking forward to season two.
that's awesome. So, when you have such long-term collaborators, but you're coming onto a project that, of course, is going to be, visually and aesthetically different than, necessarily the last thing you just worked on. How do you, what was your process like really coming up with, the tone and aesthetic that you were going to use for The Old Man?
Well, it all starts on the page, really. It's knowing the story, it's reading the script, and then it's discussions with my fellow DP, Sean Porter, and then with our directors and showrunners to try and work out, the visual landscape or roadmap, I guess, of the show. And there are a few things other than story that kind of go on as well. It's what kind of show tonally is it? And really, right down to the kernel is how bold do all the filmmakers want to be with the show? How, for instance, how dark can we go? Which was a big thing on The Old Man. Um, do we want to do a different kind of thing as far as camera, which we did on The Old Man? We wanted to do a lot of single takes, a lot of long sequences. So it's really about what direction the story takes you on, and then it's mulling over all those ideas with the other DP, the directors, the showrunners, and then going down a path of, there's a certain path that you want to travel down, and how bold do we want to go down that pathway? And thankfully, with The Old Man, with John Steinberg and Dan Schatz, they wanted to do something that really stood out. They wanted something that was really grounded in reality, but that pushed the kind of envelope. And I think we really achieved that with The Old Man.
Yeah. What stands out for you in episode 4, which you were nominated for?
What stands out for me? Well, there's a couple of things. There's what is the most challenging scene of episode 4. So I'll talk about that first.
Yeah.
Uh, we had a walk and talk on horseback that took place at night, with a young Chase and two of our Afghan warriors, and it was about a 10-minute sequence, and it had to take place over quite a vast area uh, at Santa Clarita where we were shooting. And so the challenge of that was being able to light it naturalistically, and light it in such a way that I could give the director and the showrunners and the actors a 10-minute long sequence. So we didn't want to cut it up. We didn't want to cut it up for a number of reasons, most of all, which was to allow the actors to have the space I guess to act within that scene and not have the scene broken up or disjointed. And so that was a really challenging thing. Night work at the best of times is challenging, but to be able to do a sequence where actors are moving through a landscape, traveling from point A to point B, in this case over about a 500-meter distance, is really challenging because you've got to make the moonlight look naturalistic. You can't have extreme changes in lighting levels. So to that end, I employed a light called a BB light, which is a truck with 15 independently focusable lights, 6K lights. And with that, I was able to back it off about 1 kilometer. And I could use the independent lights to light the landscape and also to backlight our actors. And then at the other end, where they were traveling towards another tower with a series of 360 lights, but once again had to be backed off a large distance. So as the actors moved on horseback towards that light, it didn't increase in lighting levels too much. So along with the lights was a series of nets and so forth. It was a very difficult kind of sequence to pull off and to have it look naturalistic. And in the end, I was super happy with it.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds very complex. So were any of the lights moving during the shot, or were they on both sides stationary just from a very far distance?
The big lights were stationary at either end, probably
Yeah.
at about a 1,500-meter distance from one another. But there was one light that moved with them, and that was a light that actually gave the actors a little bit more feel, a little bit more of an eye light, and that traveled on the crane with us as we tracked with the actors. Yeah.
Wow, that takes a lot of space to set up.
Yeah, it was a lot. We needed the real estate for that, and we had it up at Blue Sky Ranch up in Santa Clarita. We had the real estate to do it, and yeah, in the end, I think it turned out super well, and everyone was really happy. And yeah, it's a great sequence that I'm really proud of.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like quite the challenge to execute. It sounds very rewarding to pull that off.
Yeah.
Other than that sequence, what stands out? What are you proud of from this episode?
There's a scene that we did at the Russian encampment, and that I'm particularly proud of. It's a sequence that takes place again at night. It's a single take. Well, we give the illusion that it's a single take sequence, and it's Chase coming into the Russian encampment, and he has to take out some of the bad guys, and it's all happening during a thunderstorm. And so it was a combination of course, lightning flashes, rain, and camera movement. And it was particularly important for me to tell that story in a semblance of darkness, so we don't know what's going on. We can see the Russian soldier. We understand that Chase is coming into the encampment, but I only wanted to show Chase during certain beats. And those beats we would see during lightning flashes. So it was choreographing those really important beats to the lightning flashes and doing it within, under rain towers and a whole bunch of kind of moving elements. And it was a very cool sequence to shoot. And once again, yeah, we're really proud of that sequence.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun, just working with all of those different elements. It seems that the show took you to a lot of different places where you were able to do a lot of creative work, creating environments, not just scenes, which is really cool.
Yeah, well, one interesting aspect of that was that we started shooting The Old Man just before COVID hit. And on, I think it was Friday, the 13th of March, 2020, we were shut down from COVID. We'd shot a couple of months of The Old Man. And on the Sunday, 2 days later, we were due to fly to Morocco to shoot the second half of the show. And the Moroccan, but being in Morocco, that was going to cover all the Afghanistan flashback sequences. And we were shut down, and then we regrouped in October of 2020, and of course the Moroccan leg, we had to cancel it because of the whole COVID pandemic.
Hmm.
And so we were faced with the challenge of how do we pull off that landscape? How do we pull off those sequences and really sell it well? And it was decided that we would head to Santa Clarita, to the deserts of Santa Clarita, and we would build sets there, and we would have to do all our Hindu Kush, Karakoram mountains as plate shots. And it was a real concern as to whether we would pull it off. And Eric Henry, our VFX supervisor, did an amazing job of bringing the Hindu Kush to Southern California. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was challenging, but very rewarding. I often call, filmmaking is lurching from one crisis to another. But filmmakers have this knack of solving problems and solving them really quickly.
Yeah.
And that was a massive problem for us. How do we, because it was all, the old man's all about being steeped in reality, being grounded. It had to be grounded. It had to feel real to the audience.
Hmm.
So that challenge of not being able to shoot in Morocco, now we're having to shoot in Santa Clarita, was a big one. But those mountainscapes, anyone who's seen the show and they look at those scenes set in Afghanistan, I think are really impressed by the work that was done.
Yeah. So what does this nomination mean to you?
Well, I guess becoming a member of the ASC was a huge milestone in my career, and it was something that becoming a member of the ASC was something that I always wanted to become since I became a cinematographer. It was a goal, and it was a huge privilege when that happened. But then to be nominated this year, and to be nominated really by my peers, is the icing on the cake. And I was overwhelmed when I found out about the nomination, and I'm so very proud of it. And it's kind of testament, not to me. It's not really about me, but it's about the people that have supported me on that journey. My partner Lisa Khan, my two children, Max and India, who've really the two that made the supreme sacrifice, because I've been away from home for
Hmm.
so many months over the years. But they're all super stoked at the nomination, and that's for me is the big thing. Is I guess is the people that have supported me. They're really happy for me, and together we're all really happy about this nomination. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. Congratulations. Are there any of the other nominated shows or films or anything that has really inspired you creatively this year?
Yeah, listen, I'm really happy to be nominated with two other Australians,
Mhm.
Greg Fraser for The Batman and Mandy Walker for Elvis, both in the feature film category. And it's just fantastic that us three Australians are flying the flag this year for
Yeah.
at the ASC awards. But I think their work on both those films is fantastic. It's really inspiring to see those guys go from go so far in their careers and to be doing so well. And both of those films are really magnificent works of cinematography. And so I'm just really happy to be nominated this year with those two fine Australian cinematographers.
Hmm.